Hello, I'm John. Welcome to my channel, Disquiet and Dragons. We're out and about again, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year free count tag. So I was tagged in the mid-year free count tag. I know I'm a bit behind with my tags. It was Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems that was kind enough to tag me, and Ellie at Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. She mentioned me in her mid-year free count tag video, so thank you to both of them. I thought it'd be fun while I'm out and about if I started to film some of my tags and get caught up on them. So today we're at Boscobel house, which is like a manor house, a stately home kind of thing in just over the Staffordshire Shropshire border, near the village of Boscobel. I'll take some video and I'll put some video at the end of the tags if you'd like to see where I am today and learn a bit more about its history. But for the time being, I'll get on with the tags. So the first prompt: best book you've read so far in 2024. Without doubt, I've read some fantastic books so far, but Hyperion by Dan Simmons, absolutely fantastic. It was so much more than I thought it would be. Dan Simmons is a fantastic writer. His world building and his prose, it can be so dark and brutal when it needs to be. Then at other times it can be just so poetic and beautiful. Absolutely wonderful book. I didn't really know what it would be about when I went into it. I thought it'd just be a straight science fiction novel, but it's kind of like an anthology of short stories or novellas, and it follows a cast of characters, and each one tells the other what their story is and how they came to be on Hyperion, where they're doing a pilgrimage to find out more about this time tomb and the reappearance of this like war god, the Shrike. Each story, it's like one of them is kind of like military science fiction / horror. There's another that's quite a dark, like a film noir detective story almost. But yeah, if you haven't read it, Hyperion is a fantastic novel and the best book I've read in 2024 so far. The second prompt: best sequel you've read so far in 2024. Didn't really need to think about this one. Bookshops and Bone Dust, absolutely amazing. It's the second book in the series by Travis Baldry, the first being Legends and Lattes. Bookshops and Bone Dust, it's just so cozy. It's like a big hug of a book. It's a prequel to Legends and Lattes. We follow our main character, Vic, the orc again, and she gets injured on a mission and she ends up in this small seaside town, and while she's recovering from an injury, she decides she needs a hobby, so she goes wandering, finds this little bookshop and becomes friends with the shop owner and discovers a love of reading. It's just a wonderful, friendly book. If you read something a bit dark or bleak recently and want a little pick-me-up, you can't go far wrong with this book series. Absolutely wonderful. The third prompt is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and that's the new book by one of my favourite authors, and that's The Gathering by CJ Tudor. Please excuse me, there's loads of flies around. CJ Tudor, she's one of my favourite newer authors. She's been I think her first novel came out in about 2017, something like that. She used to be a dog walker and she decided to try a hand at writing, and she's bloody brilliant. She's really active on Twitter and she's an absolute sweetheart. She really engages with all the fans of her novels, and yeah, if you like her writing, follow her. She's wonderful. But The Gathering, it's set in Alaska, and from the synopsis I kind of got the impression it's kind of like a cross between 30 Days of Night and the Dresden Files. It's about this law enforcement agency that tracks vampires, so I'm looking forward to reading that one. Should be good, but I think I'm probably going to wait until the darker nights Seems like a spooky season read for me, I reckon. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't really keep on track of many new releases, to be honest. I tend to buy a lot of my books on paperback, but one that I am looking forward to is I think it's called Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. I've read some of his previous works and he's a fantastic author, so I might not get it on release. It might be out already, I'm not quite sure when it's meant to be released, but I'm sure if his previous work's anything to go by, it'll be amazing. So yeah, that's one that I'm looking forward to. Number 5 is the biggest disappointment of 2024, and that's The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I'd heard so many good things about this book, and it's not a bad book. It's well written, and I can see why it's so well thought of. It just wasn't for me. I was expecting way more dragons, and unfortunately sometimes a book just doesn't click, and it didn't click for me. Not a bad book by any means, but yeah, it was disappointing for me. Number 6, the biggest surprise of 2024. It's a debut novel by an author called Noah Medlock, and that was A Botanical Daughter. I bought this book purely because the cover was so beautiful, and I read the back of it and it sounded really intriguing. It's about these 2 Victorian gentlemen who live in this giant greenhouse. One's a taxidermist and one is a botanist, and the botanist discovers that this fungus that he's bought could be sentient, so he kind of like discovers this experiment, or invents this experiment, and they find a body, and they, using their botany skills and their taxidermy skills, implant this fungus into the dead body. And yeah, imagine, it's quite whimsical at times. The prose is quite flowery, and it's very much a slow burn, but that makes the horror when it happens so effective. If you like dark fantasy horror and gothic Victorian setting, you can't go wrong with this book. Absolutely fantastic. That's A Botanical Daughter. 7 is favourite new author, new to you or debut. So I'll do one for each on this one. Favourite new to me author is Robin Hobb. I read Assassin's Apprentice in February or March. What a book. It's just amazing. The world building and the character work is just outstanding. I haven't read many fantasy books, but this is one of the best ones I've read. I've just started a buddy read of Royal Assassin with Nikhil on from Shelf Esteem, and it started off just as strong as the other book finished. So yeah, Robin Hobb, amazing author. And favourite new author from a debut has got to be Travis Baldry, who's writing the Legends of Artes series. Absolutely wonderful series of books, and even though I've only bought 2 of his books, author by author for me, absolutely. 8 is newest fictional crush. I don't really read romance or anything, so I got nothing. Number 9, newest favourite character, Arcandius Moog from Kings of the Wild. Oh, what a character. I absolutely loved him. He's this quirky old wizard who likes explosions, and when he's introduced into the story, he's found in his dilapidated wizard tower selling magical Viagra. So yeah, he's a bit of a character. He's a bit quirky, he's a bit funny, likes explosions. He's awesome. Absolutely love that character. Number 10 is a book that made you cry. So, I haven't cried as such because of a book being sad this year, but again, I read Legends and Lattes and I thought it was wonderful. I thought the way it writes friendship and finding your place of belonging was just amazing. So I bought the book for my friend for her birthday, and when I gave her the book, I said, this book explains friendships and finding your sense of place, and that's exactly what this friendship means to me. And I got a bit emotional, and yeah, so in a roundabout kind of way, Legends and Lattes made me cry. The next prompt is number 11. The most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. I'd go with Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner, the sequel to Godkiller. The cover art on that book is just unbelievable. It's got beautiful, I can't think of the proper name. It's end pages when you open the cover and there's a picture. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. But one of my favourite books that I've bought this year, and I'll put a photo up of it, I visited another stately home the other week, and in this cow shed there was some books for sale, and I found this old dilapidated hardback cover of Firestarter by Stephen King, and it cost me, I think it was 30p, and it's in a bit of a state, but I absolutely love it. I'm so happy with it. So I've got one beautiful and one beautiful to me book. 12, book that made you happy. Masters of the Universe, the mini comic collection. It was just pure nostalgia for me. When you used to, in the 80s, there was a action figure toy line, Masters of the Universe, with like He-Man, Skeletor, you know them. And I collected them as a kid, and you used to get a little mini comic in with the figure, and reading these mini comics again, it just took me back to my childhood, like sitting at my nan's, like while she was watching telly or something, and I was just reading these comic books over and over and over again. And yeah, it just took me back to a simpler time. It just made me feel happy while I'm really nostalgic while I was reading that. So yeah, I'll go with that one for that. And the last prompt, which is number 13, what books do you need to read this year? I'm a mood reader, so I don't really go, oh, that's my TBR and I absolutely need to read that. What gets read pretty much, apart from a few buddy reads. So I'll go with the buddy reads that I've got planned for this year, and those are one that I'm doing at the moment, Royal Assassin. I'm buddy reading that with Nikhil from Shelf Esteem. Also, we'll be going straight into Assassin's Quest, and for that buddy read, Ellie from Bibbidi Bobbidi Books will be joining us, so that'll be really good fun. Looking forward to that. Then another buddy read for later in the year that myself and Nikhil have organised is we're starting the Bloodsworn saga by John Gwynne. So apparently, I don't know much about it. I think it's fantasy with Norse influence. So it sounds right on my street. That sounds awesome. And the final buddy read I've got planned for the year, and I'm actually reading. It's the same book, but it's going to be like two separate buddy reads at the same time, if that makes sense. I'll be reading that with my friend Sarah, and also with Ellie from Bibbidi Bobbidi Books, and in October we're going to be reading Pet Cemetery. So that's my mid-year freak out tag. That's all the questions answered. I'm a bit late to the party on this one, so I'm not going to tag anyone else in it, but unless you want to do it and you haven't done it already, then consider yourselves tagged. I'll put some footage of Boscobel House up, so I'll leave you be for now. As always, I hope you're enjoying what you're reading. You take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Bye. So this is Boscobel House. It was built in the 16th century. I think it was a family called the Giffords, and they took a lot of farm buildings and converted it into this rather fine manor house. It's absolutely beautiful here, but it's also famous for you know, I think it was 1650 or something. The Church of England was they weren't tolerant of Catholics, and the Giffords were Catholic, and they sheltered King Charles II from he was being chased for his beliefs, and they actually gave him shelter here. And famously, Charles II took shelter in an oak tree to avoid his pursuers, which I'll show you in a bit. But yeah, I'll show you the garden again and the house. It's a beautiful day here we're in Shropshire today. Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. So here we are at the Royal Oak, or the site of the Royal Oak. In 1651, when Charles II hid here, the area was covered with like an oak forest. After he was restored to his kingdom in 1660, the Royal Oak became an object of people, like pilgrims, visiting it. Visitors started to take branches and take sticks from it. And in 1680, the owners of Boscobel House, the Fitzherberts, built a brick wall around it. The brick wall's now gone, and as is the original Royal Oak, but the Fitzherberts, they took an acorn from the original tree, and in 1712 they planted this acorn, and it grew into another oak tree. And as you can see, they've continued to take acorns from this line of the Royal Oak, and they're turning this into like an oak pasture. They're turning it into a wildflower meadow, but also all these trees that you can see growing are taken from acorns from the original oak, which I think is amazing. Well, not the original oak, but the line of the Royal Oak.